Michael Coogan here with another edition of Good Stuff News and Random Acts of Kindness. I have some very special guests here with me tonight doing some really meaningful work, and we'll get to that in just one moment. The last time I was on was with Doug Belanger, and Doug's first question was what was the germination of this entire show. So I'd like to just take a moment to explain that once more. Many years ago, Linda Ellerby was a journalist, and she had a television show, and she was responding to viewers' questions. And one of the questions was, Linda, why is it that all the news that we hear today is bad stuff? And Linda kind of got her back up and answered very sternly that the day that you read about the proverbial Boy Scout helping an elderly woman cross the road, and that's a headline, then you should be afraid, because news typically is the exceptions to the norms, rules, and laws of our society. But I believe that we've almost crossed the line or come to a point now where it is kind of hard to find those good news, those little nuggets. You read through the newspaper and it can almost be kind of depressing. But so, with all due respect to Linda's point of view and her comments, I thought this would be a good way to show people that there are many acts of kindness, there is good news out there, and it can be contagious. And I would love to have people share your good news or an act of kindness that you performed or something that somebody did for you. There is a website and a Facebook page, Good Stuff News and Random Acts of Kindness. And I would like to get something visual. I don't want to sit up here and just read stories. I don't think we will be very successful if that were the case. We have news stations for that. But if you could provide a video or even a picture with a voiceover, I'd love to put it on the air because it can be contagious, as I said. I also have an email set up just for this show. It's michael.coogan, C-O-O-G-A-N, 08 @gmail.com. So please share. It's the only way that we can continue and be successful and inspire others to pay it forward. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my guests. They're from the 365Z Foundation. To my right is Rosemary Ford. She's the foundation president. We'll go ladies first. Sherry is down the end with, she's the foundation executive committee member and marketing director. And then Chris Weber, the rose between the thorns man. He's the clerk of the foundation. Kidding, ladies. So I'd just like to start, Rosemary, by asking what was the germination for the 365Z Foundation? How did it all begin?
Well, it all began sadly because my son Zachary took his life. It'll be 6 years February 12th, and February 27th. My mother passed away February 12th. So February's not a great month for the Ford family. Anyways, he had been going through what I would say situational depression because he lost a friend 2 weeks prior. And Zachary actually had way too much to drink, as unfortunately many children now, 20 years old and above or even younger, they think it's okay and they think that they can handle it. And sadly, Zachary couldn't handle it and he made a poor choice. As a result of that, I decided at his mass, I said, somehow we're going to come up with something meaningful that will make a difference. And I had been invited into Quinsigamond Community College to Paula Carva's Death and Dying class, and I spoke a few times, and people asked, how do you cope with it? And one of the things I said was, I do something kind every day in memory of Zachary, and that after 365 days, I've done that many kind deeds, and if I've done more, it's a bonus. And after that, Paula Carva, Ed Gardella, and a few other people from the Worcester area got together and said, geez, wouldn't that be great to start a foundation, 365 Random Acts of Kindness. And then they approached me, and I said, well, what if I'd love to do it, but what if you put a Z at the end for Zachary? And also, instead of saying Random Acts of Kindness, why don't we commit ourselves to kindness, as opposed to just saying, well, let's just randomly do something. Let's do a different thought. Let's maybe think about doing something kind every single day, and if we all did that. And that's sort of where it started.
And as I said on the last show, very often when bad things happen, good things can come of that. And I think I congratulate you on that. I'm sure even just talking about it now can be difficult, but I do appreciate you sharing. I think people, it's important to know how it did start.
Yes.
And we'll move on from that, but thank you. And just like Chris or Sherry, how did you become involved? Chris, if you...
Okay. I have been neighbors with the Fords for 20-something years, and I have a son that's a couple years younger than Zach. They played baseball together when they were real little. I have 3 children, and the Fords have 3 children. And all the Ford kids babysat the Weber kids at some point in time. And, you know, in sort of one of these acts of kindness for Zachary, I remember it distinctly. We had plans at the last minute and needed a babysitter. Had called for Kristen Ford, starting at the top. And then she was tied up. As they get older, they start to just, you know, have their own lives. Then Brittany, and then Rosemary said, well, what about Zachary? And I said, I don't know, would he do it? And he said, yeah, he's saying, I'll go up there. And so Zach came up and watched the kids, not my son, he was out, but the 2 girls who were younger, and just, I don't think the TV was on for the whole 4 or 5 hours. He was just playing with the girls. So there was a strong connection there. After Zachary had passed away, this idea started to ferment, and Paul Ford called me up and said, hey, we're going to start this foundation. Was thinking you might be interested, you know, maybe you'd like to come down and learn more. And I said, sure, I'll be involved. And he said, well, maybe you want to learn a little more. And I said, nope, I'll figure it out. This is one of those times in life where you just go with it and see what happens. And so that was it. That's
Terrific.
how I started.
And it is contagious. I mean, that's one testimonial to that. How about you, Sherry? What brought you onto the board?
Well, I actually didn't even know any of the Fords. I knew nobody as part of the foundation, and it was in its first year, and I had taken a friend of mine to the first gala, which has now become our annual gala, and it was at Wachusett Country Club. It was the first year, and actually what happened was I had won a raffle, and I had to go to Rosemary Ford's house to get the raffle, and in that, Rosemary knows my husband, and they have some things in common, and we got to talking, and I got to learn a little bit more about Zachary's story, and what attracted me, and I remember saying it at Rosemary's kitchen table that day, you know, Zachary's story really resonated for me. You know, I had a lot of similar traits as Zachary as a teenager, and it just struck me. So at that kitchen table that very day, I asked Rosemary if there was any way I could ever be a part of the foundation. Let me know, and I joined the board of incorporators, and then slowly kind of worked my way in, and here I am. So, yeah.
So this has been 4 years since
4 years.
4 years.
officially getting the foundation organized. And I visited your website, but I'm sure that there is a lot more that you've been doing than I saw on there. I saw something, one section was schools. If you could talk about that just a little bit. I think you've got chapters, or I'm not sure if that's the right word.
We are, well, as far as the schools go, we have programs for elementary sector and then the junior and senior high school. I can speak for the elementary sector because we have it at the school that I teach at, Union Hill School in Worcester, and it's very inner city, but we come with a library, a rolling library of books, and then we have a quote of the day, and it's on a flip chart. We have the banners, we have bracelets, and we've put together just a binder of activities that the teachers can do with the children. Because I know as a teacher, you're inundated with new things, and you're like, oh gosh, not one more thing. But this sort of is wonderful to start your year off, because children are getting to know each other, you're getting to know routines in your classroom, and when you start out just incorporating kindness and good deeds right from the get-go, it works. And the kids get invested in it. This is our third year doing it at Union Hill. We have 4 celebrations a year, and the kids have bought into it, and it has truly changed the climate of our school.
Fantastic. So, but you go beyond elementary as
Yes.
well? from-
Junior high and high school. Yeah, and actually, we have some kids who've actually graduated high school and brought that to college, even across the country. So we've spread beyond New England.
I was going to ask what the demographic is, but it is national? You've
It is
gone that far?
national. Actually, we have one that I think made it to Ireland so
Yes.
far, right?
So
We
you
did,
can
we
say
have, yes.
national.
So we have 21 schools, and the breakdown is 11 elementary, there's 2 junior high schools, and then there's 8 high schools. And we've had, now it's been going on for our 4th year now, so the schools have really sort of taken it upon themselves to take the program, which Rosemary alluded to earlier, with the elementary schools and the books and that sort of thing, develop their own curriculum around that. Junior and senior high school is a little different. There's a big kindness banner. A lot of them set it up with a club and an advisor. And when that, and everybody who signs up, they get bracelets like we
Yes,
have
thank
here.
you. I have one tonight.
And when they get a faculty advisor and become an official club, then we provide a $500 stipend to the junior and senior high schools. And that's just seed money to then allow them to do what they think would be a great way to foster kindness. And it could be a food drive. It could be that they decide to buy some supplies and do drawings for a local senior center, or they could do some things internally. So depending on the school and what they choose to do, that is up to them, and they've got that freedom. But there's 21 schools right now, mostly in, or just in the Worcester County area. We did have a Burncoat graduate from 3 years ago, I think now, who did go to school out in Utah, and she had asked to get it started there. We did have an inquiry from Ireland, and we've had somebody at Worcester State and somebody at St. Anselm's that graduated from St. Peter Marion last year, that each of them is going to start to do it. And it's something that's starting to develop for us, so we're going to see where that goes. We'd like to see it go even further, so.
So at the elementary level, obviously you need an adult to kind of be the point person.
Sponsor, yep.
Sponsor, okay. And then at the high schools, it's usually students that kind of take this on and run with it rather than.
But they just need to have a
faculty advisor or
yeah,
something
they
like
have to
that.
have a faculty
Yeah,
advisor.
they have to have somebody who's assigned to them as a club,
Yeah.
particularly when there starts to be money being handled.
Sure.
And they can have their own fundraisers, and it's worked out really well.
But also, 2 years ago, we gave out, I believe it was $500 scholarships. Last year, we gave out 10 $1,000 scholarships to area
Wow.
students.
To high school students from the participating schools.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the student, I would imagine, would be part of the club. I mean,
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily,
Yeah.
Okay.
right. They have to have demonstrated a character of kindness
Okay.
throughout the year, so usually I think it's the principal who actually makes the decision about who that student should be. And, you know, there's essays that are involved and things like that. So it's not necessarily a student, could be a student that was maybe helping tutor another student throughout the year, and they don't necessarily have to be a part of the club, but we're looking for students that have that character embedded in them and have demonstrated that in a factual way.
Sure. I think it's fantastic that you get them involved young as well, because you kind of get a set of values, and then, which will stay with them hopefully throughout their lives, and they pay it forward, and things become better. So how do you get your funding? I know foundations are, you're probably, you're 501c3, a nonprofit, but you're giving out significant numbers. You're helping people in so many different ways. Do you do fundraising events? Do you do mailings, or do you write to other foundations for grants?
It's mostly fundraising events. We have an annual bowl-a-thon, Thanks for Giving bowl-a-thon is
Okay.
what we call it, and the proceeds from that can go to many of our community outreach initiatives. So we have, we put together bags for the veterans for Valentine's Day, and they're, for Veterans Day, I'm
yes.
sorry, and they're filled with chapstick and toothbrush and toothpaste and things like that in our little 365Z bag. So things like that, holiday food baskets, all those kind of things are the things that we put our money towards. But in order to keep doing that throughout the year, we have to have different types of events that'll raise that money. So Thanksgiving is usually around the time that we have our bowl-a-thon, and then we have our huge spring gala every year, so this will be our 4th year, actually. And that's usually a pretty big event, between 300 and 400 people that do come to that gala. It's a lot of fun.
May 19th.
May 19th this year at the Manor in West Boylston.
Manor,
Yep, yep.
The Manor
It's a lot of fun, and that is probably one of the primary ways that we actually are able to infuse more money into the organization. Yep.
So do you have volunteers outside of your board? As you mentioned corporators and
Yep.
just anybody who would like to become
Correct.
involved can go to the website and
Click the
contact
link.
you. And
How can I be involved? How can I volunteer? Yep.
Okay.
Well, for example, this coming weekend, we have we're making Valentine's bags, and we're making 600. They're going to the Mustard Seed, the Veteran Shelter, Visitation House. We deliver 600. 100 of them are actually going out to Leominster this year.
So you're doing some amazing things. That's what, as I said, I know there's a lot more that I don't know, and it's wonderful to learn. How large is your board?
23?
23 this year.
Wow. Because
Just
I know
voted last
that
week.
Event fundraising is time-consuming and can burn people out after a while. I've been involved with fundraising for nonprofits, I hate to say, but for 35 years. And done anything from golf tournaments to fashion shows and things like that. And it's difficult to keep people motivated after a few years with events, but it sounds as though people really have a commitment to the commitments of kindness. I know the show is Random Acts of Kindness, and we talk once you call it Commitments of Kindness, which I think is a stronger message. So, approximately how much do you raise every year?
I would say our budget sort of fluctuates between, say, $30,000 and $50,000, and it will drop down after we do the scholarships. But at the same time, our primary fundraiser is the gala that's at the Manor, and that usually builds it back up.
Okay.
And then we can decide at any point that maybe somebody's got a new initiative, and we want to try something new, so that then gets voted on by the board. Schools is something that when you look at the cost of schools, and I have it written here, an elementary school with the library, the rolling library, and some of the other resources, that's a cost of about $1,500. Now, the junior high schools and the high schools, where they get the quote of the day, it's a book, and a lot of the schools will read it over the loudspeaker every day. I know St. Peter Marion does that, and Burncoat High School does that. They will read that, and it just gives everybody a little pause, a little time to say, okay, let's think about somebody else, let's think about doing something nice for somebody else. But that doesn't, the books are not as prevalent in that program. That is just a big banner that everybody signs. That's a cost of about $500. Along with that comes the $500 once they become an official club. So quick and dirty, it's the elementary schools are about $1,500, junior high schools and senior high schools are $1,000. So when we bring on one school, two schools, 10 schools, all of a sudden that money starts to drop back down. Bowl-a-thon helps bring it back up. Individuals donate, and sometimes they go to the website and they can donate, and the website is 365z.org. In case somebody's interested. We're on Facebook at the 365Z Foundation, Twitter at 365Z Foundation, and then Instagram, which I'm not on, is just straight 365Z Foundation.
Well, the other thing that I would like to say is I think that it's great because it's very diverse. We're at Venerini Academy, we're at St. Peter Central Catholic, we are at many of the public schools in Worcester, we're at St. Anne's out in Leominster. So we really are diverse. It's not just, it's not a cookie cutter program. It can go anywhere.
I was actually going to comment on that, and I thank you for reminding me. So you go into a school, and there's a mission. Obviously, you relate the mission of the foundation to a faculty advisor, but then they're free because each school obviously is unique in its
Correct.
demographics,
Yes.
or if it is inner city or suburban or private or public. So then they kind of mold their own, the identity, so to speak, or the activities of their own chapter.
Correct, yes. Yep.
And do they stay in touch with you
Well,
regularly?
that's what, now Meg Mulhern is going to actually take over the educational piece, because when it was started, the people that were involved are teachers, and we can't get into the schools because we're teaching ourselves. So Meg very kindly said, I will take that over, and so she is going to have contact people at every school, and then I guess they're going to start a blog on the website so that teachers can log in.
Share
and-
stories,
Yep.
get ideas.
Good.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
And there's a lot of those resources exist now on the website. So if somebody goes to 365z.org, they'll see the website, which we had developed last year, speaking of expenses. And we got some great help with that from somebody that Meg had known through Little League, and just really helped us develop our website and make that happen. So if you go there, you'll see there's a bunch of resources there. The blog is there. You can certainly contact Meg directly there as the school liaison if somebody's interested. And her email is actually mmulhern@365z.org. That's MMULHERN.
Okay, and I believe we saw that on the credits as well,
Yeah.
so somebody can jot it down if they didn't have time just now. You'll see it rolling, I believe, at the conclusion of the show as well. So, what are the plans going forward? You just, I mean, obviously, you're doing some terrific stuff, you're growing, is it just schools, or would there be something like a Boy Scout troop, or Girl Scouts, or are you
Well,
into
usually,
other?
what's really happened is people have come to us and said, we're interested,
Right.
how can we be part of it? So we're not closing our doors to anyone who's be interested in becoming involved. But, and the other thing that we wouldn't close our doors to is ideas of how else we can reach out to the community. So,
So there is a lot of good stuff out there. The news every day can be somewhat depressing, but this is contrary to what I said earlier about, so many bad things happening, and we do read about that every day. So I also noticed on your website there's a pledge, and I signed the pledge myself the other day as I did a little research to prepare for this evening. Could you just talk a little bit about that?
well, the first year, we initially had used a pledge from Random Acts of Kindness, an organization. And then the following summer, myself and another teacher sat down and we said, first of all, we'd like to develop a pledge that had rich language for the students, but also develop a pledge that was our own. And hence, we came up with the new pledge.
Do you have a counter? That's like, just how many people visit your website, do you know? Or is it?
We do have a counter, and we just revamped our entire website, as Chris just said, too, so I don't know if we have the latest numbers right now, but it's only been up a couple months. It's been up for a long time, but we just revamped it, so I don't know what the new numbers are right now.
I know.
But even on Facebook, I mean, we have, within a very short amount of time, we hit, 1,000 likes, we have a lot of people that are drawn to the Facebook and the Instagram and the Twitter feeds. Every event we're at, we make sure that people, snap photos with our Instagram pictures or Instagram frames and post it on Instagram. So, we're bringing people through all areas of the social media, not just the website itself.
It sounds like you have it all covered. I mean, my
Yep.
kids use Instagram, I have
Yep.
no idea. Facebook I'm familiar with, and Twitter slightly, but it sounds as though you do have, and then a blog on its
Yep,
way.
yep.
So there are all types of ways that people can learn more, become involved, start a chapter. Would something, say I wanted to start a chapter here in Leicester, do you have anything that is like town-related, or is it more organizational types of?
We haven't gotten there, but I mean, I
Okay.
don't think that anyone would be opposed to it.
Sure.
I think that that's something that could be put on the table for discussion.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, Jesse Burkett Little League, where my son had played and Zachary played.
I remember
And
the World Series,
You
yes,
got it.
yeah.
And so they took it on as part of their sportsmanship initiative in their league. And so we do a spree day there where we're flipping burgers and meeting the new children and seeing some of the ones we've seen the year before. And it's just a ton of fun to get everybody to just sort of incorporate kindness into being on the field in a competitive situation. I mean, you know, we saw the Patriots last night, and Tom Brady had ample opportunity to be unkind to Roger Goodell, and
Right.
he didn't do it,
No, he
right?
didn't. He
I mean,
didn't.
he was bigger than that. Some of the things that you'll see the schools do is they've got leaves on a tree that they'll put kind sayings on, and they, I think SPM did this, they put them all up in a tree, and they just took them off during the fall season. The kids came up with it themselves. They took it off, and they put it on somebody's locker. They took another one off, and they put it on. And then some of the kids put leaves back up. Venerini, I think, did, what do they do?
Venerini
Ornaments.
actually has a flag, a kindness flag that
Yeah,
they
that they did
made up,
themselves.
so.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing to me is having kids understand that it doesn't cost a dime. It doesn't cost anything to say hello, to open a door, just to simply be nice.
I think that's a great message. We're running out of time. I want to thank you very much for joining me tonight. What you're doing, I think, is fantastic. It's in the same kind of aligned with the mission of what I'm trying to get out there. Love to have you back another time,
Yeah,
and
we'd love to
encourage
come back.
people to visit the website. Any school people, get in touch, and let's make this larger. I mean, let's pay it forward and help you grow. So just before I close, I would like to again ask people to share stories with me. It's critical to the success of moving forward and making people or helping people to understand that miracles happen every day. Some people don't think so, but they do. There is one more thing before I do close that I would like to mention, a little bit selfish because it's a part of my family, but my sister, youngest sister, Patty, found out that somebody needed a kidney. They were in kidney failure, and she went through extensive testing and found out she was a match. 2 weeks ago today, she donated one of her kidneys. She's fine. The recipient is doing very well, and I'd like to say, Patty, you're my hero. Her daughter, while she was doing this, was also going through the testing for a match, and they found out she had lung cancer. Her last PET scan last week showed that she is cancer-free. So congratulations, Kerry, and we're all getting together March 3rd for a big celebration of life.
Absolutely.
So with that,
Fantastic.
thank you and good night.